This is KGW News at Sunrise.
Well, good morning. Thanks for getting up with us on this Saturday morning. I'm Tim Gordon. This morning on Sunrise, Portland's daytime camping ban is now in effect. The first order of business, educating people about the change. Plus, a county plan to help drug addicts comes under fire from Portland's mayor. But before we get to all that, let's check in with Daisy Caballero for a look at our forecast. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Tim. And obviously you stepped outside coming into work. You probably saw all that cloud coverage, and this will actually be sticking around for much of the early morning hours. Maybe we'll be clearing out right around noon, but we are going to be seeing some sunshine. It is 60 degrees for your Saturday morning here in the metro area. Now, while we're not quite seeing a bunch of activity in terms of precipitation, folks over east actually are probably seeing some passing showers if they are outdoors. Checking in at the rest of our current temperatures, many of us still in the 50s, 57 for Hillsborough, 56 for Forest Grove, 60 for Troutdale as well as the metro area. And as always, a little bit cooler into those 50s as we're looking along the coast. Here's your day planner. Again, we are expecting for those clouds to kind of clear out for the better part of this afternoon, and we'll see 82 degrees by 5 o'clock. But we have a lot more to talk about, including a red flag warning. We'll talk more about that in my full forecast, Tim.
Okay, Daisy, thanks a lot. Well, there's some good news here. There's progress to report on the Tunnel 5 fire burning in the gorge. Crews say the fire west of White Salmon is now more than 35% contained. Hundreds are still working to keep it from growing, but conditions out there look much different than they did earlier in the week. The Skamania County Sheriff's Office has lowered evacuation levels for everyone now in the area. This weekend, crews are hoping Mother Nature keeps cooperating. They'll be watching the winds closely.
The winds are a concern for us, and it can certainly test our containment lines, but it's also a good test of our containment lines to let us know that they are secure.
Well, so far the fire has burned about 550 acres. 10 homes have been destroyed. Well, turning to our homeless crisis now, Portland's daytime camping ban is now in effect. The mayor's office says right now they're focused on education, and enforcement won't begin for months. Thomas Schultz went to take the temperature of folks living on the streets, advocates and officials about potential next steps.
Well, right now it's breaking me down.
Claude Little has lived on the streets of Portland for 10 years. 9 have been spent in this vicinity. Soon, he could be forced to move daily.
It's going to just keep tearing me up.
Little says he broke his leg months ago and is going to physical therapy. Now he packs a bag of belongings whenever he leaves, in case his tent is removed.
My life is just falling apart slowly, but I'm trying to put it back together. It's really hard.
The ordinance is one of the biggest moves Portland has taken to address homelessness. It bans homeless camping on public property from 8 in the morning until 8 at night. People living on the street can be prohibited from camping if they decline shelter or housing. They can be warned to move their tents and belongings twice before facing a fine up to $100 or 30 days in jail.
We don't have money. That's why we're out here in tents already. So us paying a fine is unrealistic.
City commissioners say the intention of the ordinance is to move people into shelter or public housing.
If people say no to services that we've actually heard they want, then we'll have to deal with that as well.
Representatives from Mayor Ted Wheeler's office say enforcement of the ordinance would not begin immediately. Instead, the city is working with nonprofits, the Street Services Coordination Center, and the Joint Office of Homeless Services to educate people about the change.
It's complicated, but our community safety team, our first responders, need clarification and direction.
Ryan says Friday is just the beginning of dialogue taking place with people living on the streets. He says commissioners need to discuss the education phase of the ordinance in more depth at the next city council meeting. Prominent business and property owner Jordan Schnitzer says the ordinance is a step in the right direction.
And many of them don't want to come down because they're afraid of being attacked by the homeless or impacted by them. We need people back downtown. We need the workers back downtown. We need the shops to open up.
Services like the Blanchet House are collecting suitcases with wheels for people living on the streets to quickly move belongings.
No, they're survivors, right? That's sort of the thing about them that impresses us, is just their instinct for survival.
Still, those like Little are concerned. He says he's already been ticketed in street sweeps and had his belongings thrown in the garbage. He had to get a new ID. social security card, and birth certificate.
I'm trying, and every time I get a step ahead, they kick me 2 steps back, but it's not their fault. You know, they're just following procedure. You know what I'm saying? They're following the mayor.
So will people actually get fined or put in jail because of these new rules? Well, according to Multnomah County's DEA, Mike Schmidt, that's unlikely. In a previous news conference, he said when people appear in court, he's hoping to get them connected to services instead.
You know, a jail bed is our most expensive housing option in our community. It's like $314 a day or something like that. And it's the least effective at long-term stabilization. So it's not a cure. It should not be a housing substitute. It should be in the rare of occasions. And quite frankly, I don't even see these cases, I don't see jail being used realistically. Also, a fine seems a little bit pointless to somebody who's indigent and can't pay for anything as well. But I think just having the contact of the court system, we've seen benefits in our treatment courts that just showing up and getting people there can make those connections.
All right, well, it seems the city and county are at odds over a new harm reduction strategy for drug users. Multnomah County says it started providing foils and pipes to people who are using them to smoke opioids. They say it's similar to needle exchange programs that have been going on for years, but now more people are inhaling drugs than injecting them. In a tweet Friday afternoon, Portland's mayor wrote, quote, "I adamantly oppose distributing paraphernalia to encourage using drugs a drug that is the leading cause of death for Americans under 50 and responsible for 190 fatal overdoses a day in the U.S. The county health department says offering a pipe exchange isn't just about providing clean equipment. They say it also helps to encourage users to come in where they can then be connected with treatment services. All right, still to come on Sunrise. U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg visits the Pacific Northwest. The projects he talked about on Friday, including the city's vision for 82nd Avenue. We'll be right back.